Now, we're so pleased to be joined by our activist of the week. Zaid Jilani is one of the senior blogger reporters for the Progressive Campaign Change Committee, PCCC. Zaid, welcome to the program.
Hi, great to be here, David.
Great to have you. So, Zaid, tell us a little bit about what exactly you're working on and what the Progressive Campaign Change Committee does.
Yeah, so, the PCCC, we're a couple things. So first, we try to get progressives elected to Congress. So we were really instrumental in electing Elizabeth Warren to Congress. We raised over $1 million for her from our grassroots base of 950,000 members. We also made hundreds of thousands of phone calls to elect her, Alan Grayson, Sherrod Brown, other bold progressives to Congress. But also when elections aren't going on, we're also working just to make that the people that we elected to Congress and the Congress that's there do progressive things. So right now we're trying really hard to keep any cuts to Social Security benefits off the table for these fiscal negotiations. We're saying that Social Security is not responsible, for the deficit. It doesn't add anything to the debt. So why are you even talking about cutting it right now? It's not really appropriate, and it's really not fair because seniors, aren't responsible for what's happening right now. If any of your listeners who are interested in our organization, we're always happy to have more people join our email list and get involved in our actions. It's just boldprogressives.org, and we're really, I think, and obviously, I work there, so I'm kind of bragging, but I think we're really one of the premier progressive organizations in the country, really working for a more progressive America.
I would agree with that. You guys are also turning out some of the premier progressive content in America. Just on the website now, I'm looking at, you have a great piece that say military experts actually want twice the level of defense cuts that are in the sequester. In other words, as we're sort of making this case that, well, maybe there shouldn't be these cuts to Social Security benefits, that there's actually more room to cut the defense if you ask defense experts.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We hear a lot about how if the sequester takes place, it would be really terrible to make such big cuts to defense spending. But first thing to remember is those take place over 10 years, so they're not like a shock. That part of the sequester isn't that big of a shock to the economy. And also, the cuts are about $500 billion over 10 years. But defense experts from organizations which have as different of an ideology as the Cato Institute to Center for American Progress to many other organizations have estimated that we could actually make $1 trillion worth of cuts over the next 10 years and still be fairly safe as a country because we're mostly just cutting outdated programs, bloated bureaucracy, and military bases in countries like Germany where we don't really need them. So really, the message is that we don't have to fear cutting defense spending. We don't have to fear cutting military spending. And we at PCCC actually did some polling in some swing states like Virginia and New Hampshire, and we actually found that I think it was something like less than 20% of people were open to cutting Medicare or Social Security benefits. They did not support that, but I believe over half in both cases did support some cuts to military spending. So this is what the public wants. This is what Americans want to see come out of Congress. And so, not only are we sort of a progressive organization, but we consider ourselves to be representing what Americans want as well. And then that's what we think Congress should do and Obama should agree to.
Well, and I was struck by another item on your website where, a lot of the mainstream news organizations are talking about Starbucks writing come together on all of the cups that they sell in the Washington area because the CEO of Starbucks wants Congress to come together and reach some sort of deal for a fiscal cliff, even though the deal that President Obama has proposed would include cutting Social Security benefits, lowering corporate tax rates, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you actually went out and talked to Starbucks employees who called the idea of writing things on the cups absolutely stupid. You quoted one person who said, "I don't get paid nearly enough to write that on all the cups. It's like I'm being punished in elementary school, except instead of a chalkboard, I have hundreds of cups." Nobody that I've seen in the media actually looked out and said and tried to decide whether or not this was actually a good thing for Starbucks employees.
Yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of people in the media view this as, it's just a cute thing Starbucks is doing for the holiday. They're just trying to promote comedy in Congress and that kind of thing. But, at the same time, members of, people who work for Starbucks, the employees, the baristas, they call them partners, a lot of them honestly don't want to write messages advocating for a certain outcome in Congress because they might not agree to that, right? And, Starbucks stressed that, it's voluntary, so on and so forth. But, let's be honest, when the CEO of a company says everyone in this particular area of the country needs to be writing these on the cups, not a lot of people are going to stand up and say, I don't care what the CEO says, right? And the one individual I talked to, they were very, very upset about having to do this. One, they thought it was a huge waste of time to be writing messages on cups, and two, they didn't necessarily agree that Congress should compromise and get any deal, even a bad deal, right? I'm sure every single person who works at Starbucks has a slightly different opinion about what kind of deal they'd like or if they don't want a deal at all. And it's fundamentally unfair for any company, I think, to be asking its employees to project a political message.
I'm with you. Zaid, we always ask our Activists of the Week about lessons learned for other activists who are thinking about getting involved, taking a stand. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most important things is to try to do things in a manner that they haven't been done before. You know, look for a different sort of way of getting your message across, right? So, for example, if you're a local activist in the community and you want to, I don't know, you want to get funding for a park or something, you know, think boldly. Don't think just, oh, I'm just going to get signatures on a petition, I'm just going to hold a rally. Think about ways you can use new media and social media. Think about, you know, do I know someone who has some particular, like, let's say, artistic skill that could, like, you know, make a really awesome art campaign about this. Always think about new ways to get across you know, some even goal that you may be working towards for a long time, because you basically just have to try everything. When you're an activist, you can't always box yourself in with the same tactics. And I think, yeah, that's what a lot of this stuff with the fiscal negotiations has been. Is we've thought outside the box. We've looked at new ways to reach members of Congress and to influence them. And I think that's what's really helping us get forward and get some good leverage that'll hopefully keep things like Social Security benefit cuts out of any agreement in the next few days.
Zaid Jilani with the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. You can find his stuff at boldprogressives.org. He's also our Activist of the Week. Zaid, congratulations, and thanks for being on the program. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks, David.
Zaid Jilani, great stuff that they do, folks. And again, it's not just the cause, but the content that they're turning out is so insightful and so helpful to so many of us. Take Action News continues on the other side of this break with Daniel Marins and how it should be. A little surprise in store that Daniel Marins has for us this week. Take Action News continues after this.